When I talk about the divine feminine, when I talk about healing, I'm not talking about putting on pretty dresses and makeup and dancing around. What I'm talking about is the deep work, the path that very, very, very few people are brave enough to walk. Very few people are brave enough to walk this path because it requires you to face yourself in a way that we are simply as a society aren't prepared for. Good evening, beautiful soul. I am so excited to have you here today. I hope you are feeling wonderful, and I trust that you are ready to drop into another really powerful conversation with me today. My name is Andrea, and I am an intuitive guide, an energy healer, an actress, and a writer. And my role and purpose is to serve women who are walking the goddess path of deep healing and transformation. And what I want to share with you today is such an important message because I feel like it is something that is so missing from a lot of people's healing journey. And what it is a very deep understanding of the healing and transformative power of pain. Yes, pain. And when I talk about pain, I mean this as sort of like an umbrella term. So pain can be any type of challenging feelings such as anger, grief, sadness, depression, anxiety, rage, frustration, and also the pain that exists in the body as a manifestation of illness or a disease. And so the reason why I want to talk about pain today is because I feel like pain is just so heavily misunderstood and so deeply feared by most people in the collective that it's something that people tend to run away from or shy away from or completely suppress because they don't understand, number one, what it is, and people don't have the tools on how to manage and commune with and develop a really deep relationship with their pain. And so pain serves two purposes, and it often serves these purposes simultaneously. On one hand, pain is a messenger that signifies imbalance or danger, and on the other hand, pain is a messenger that signifies transformation. And it is our collective fear and unwillingness to engage with pain in a loving and thoughtful way that ultimately hinders our growth and our transformation. What I see a lot in the collective and also with the women that come to me to work with me one-on-one is that there's a very surface level approach to healing. So when I ask women, well, what is it that you've been doing? What's your practice? What's your devotional practice that you have towards healing yourself, towards releasing past traumas, to really acknowledging the things that you've experienced in the past? And very often what I hear are things like, well, I journal and I meditate, or I do mantras and affirmations, and all of these things, all of these tools that women lean on as part of their healing journey are really beautiful parts of the healing journey. And they're very, very powerful and lovely tools that we can pull out of our arsenal when we need to navigate difficult circumstances that we're having in our life. And what's often missing from our engaging with these more surface level tools of journaling and meditation and mantras is we are not fully connecting to the somatic experience of the pain. So when we have a traumatic experience, and most of these traumatic experiences that we have happen when we are children, or it's inherited trauma that comes through our genetic lineage, specifically from our mothers and our grandmothers and so on and so forth down the matriarchal line. What we are doing is we are actually constructing barriers around ourselves, protective mechanisms or behaviors that prevent us from re-experiencing or re-feeling the pain that initially embedded itself into us as a trauma or a wound. And it is our unwillingness and our fear of re-experiencing that level of pain that prevents us from having the deep healing that we need. Because one of the core tenets of deep transformational healing is that in order to heal, you must feel. Because every experience that we have becomes encoded into the body. We might not remember something consciously. We might have an experience that we have forgotten about, or we have dissociated from, or we have suppressed because of the intensity of the pain that we were experiencing when we were in the moment of first experiencing that particular level of pain. But your body does not forget the experience that you were having in that moment. And so this pain becomes encoded into your system. It becomes encoded into your DNA, and this becomes the source of a lot of our triggers. So things such as feeling unworthy or fear of being fully expressed, or physical traumas that we've experienced, having our bodily autonomy taken away from us as children, or even into adulthood through all manner of physical abuses. The experience of that becomes stored in the body, and it becomes sort of like tucked away within the system, and we suppress our ability to connect with that because of how intense the pain was when we first had that initial experience with that sensation or with that emotion. And so as we suppress and prevent ourselves from really feeling the full breadth of that experience and processing that through our body, it becomes a dormant and stagnant form of energy that's waiting to be called back to the surface again, so that we can have the full totality of the experience to process it through the body, and thus have true healing, where we're not carrying this wound within our systems. But when we choose to ignore or suppress the ability to really feel and commune with that energy or with that pain, then it has nowhere to go but to stay inside of us. And then what happens is we continually manifest experiences that are designed to give us the experience of that pain, or manifests into physical ailments such as autoimmune issues and cancers, or Alzheimer's and dementia, or or something that's very common in women, specifically in the melanated woman, it becomes reproductive issues such as fibroids and endometriosis and PCOS and all other types of reproductive issues that tend to lead to a host of breakdowns within the reproductive system that cause us a tremendous amount of distress and even infertility, or worse, death. And so the clearest and most effective way of moving through this energy, or removing this energy from our systems, is to face it, acknowledge it, and give it the attention that it is looking for. So the way that this shows up a lot of times in terms of healing work is, a lot of people talk about shadow work. So shadow work meaning, inner child healing, or deep transformational breath work, or somatic exercises and practices, of which there are a multitude available to you at your disposal. And these somatic practices, which breath work and inner child work and all of these things are all somatic practices, because they connect you back to the sensations within the body and allow you to feel and process those energies out of you, because those energies are stagnant energy. It's energy that does not have any place to go, because it's essentially being held prisoner within your system. And so when it has nowhere to go, then it eventually becomes something else in order to force you to acknowledge it or to deal with it. So if you are dealing with cycles of trauma, if you're dealing with cycles of unhappiness or depression, if you're still dealing with cycles of anxiety or obsessive compulsive disorder, or it's unfortunately manifested into the physical, where you're having autoimmune issues or illnesses or breakouts or gastrointestinal issues, reproductive issues, the entire spectrum of things that happen to humans as a result of imbalance, then doing these somatic practices to really face and acknowledge the pain that's living within you, doing that shadow work, is going to be the key towards your healing. So one of the things that I said before is that pain is a messenger of imbalance. It is a messenger that something is out of homeostasis within your system. And this goes for your emotional state, and this also goes for your physical state. So when you're feeling pain, or when you are being confronted with pain that you're not giving yourself the opportunity to address and to look at, then what it does is it shows up in a way that gives you no choice but to face it. And even then, when I say it gives you no choice, there's still a choice that you have in that, which is why so many people are dealing with chronic issues. Because even despite the breakdown of their body, the breakdown of their mental health, the breakdown of their relationships, the breakdown of their potential to create the life that they want, people are more willing to watch their entire world around them, including their body, deteriorate and break down, rather than face the pain that embedded itself within them due to the traumatic experiences that they had in the past. And so what I do in my work is I teach women how to shift their relationship with pain. So rather than seeing pain as, this horrible thing to fear, or this detrimental emotion, or this detrimental feeling or sensation, I teach women how to experience pain very much in the same way that they welcome and experience pleasure, because pain and pleasure are two sides of the same coin. You can't really have one without the other. How do you know that something is pleasurable unless you feel the contrast, which is pain? And so when you're able to expand your capacity to feel pain, you expand your capacity to feel pleasure. And when I talk about pleasure, I don't just mean like physical pleasure or like sexual pleasure. I'm talking about pleasure in terms of joy and happiness and excitement and success and satisfaction and all of the sensations and feelings and emotions that we want to feel, in addition to the pleasure of having a healthy body, having a body that does what you want it to do, having a body that moves in the way that you want it to move, a body that can get you from point A to point B with speed and flexibility and openness, and you not dealing with a host of physical ailments and issues that slow you down or make you feel like your life isn't being lived to the fullest because of the physical limitations that you've manifested. And so by changing your relationship with pain and recognizing that all of the experiences that we have are a part of the all of the feelings, all of the emotions that are available to us encompass the totality of the human experience. And pain serves as a messenger to tell you, hey, something is off within your system. Something is off within your environment. Something is off in the way that you're feeding your body. So an example of that would be, you're eating certain types of foods that have you running to the bathroom or cause gastrointestinal distress or acid reflux, or it breaks your skin out. That pain is a signal that what you're putting into your body, what you are consuming, is not integral to your highest state of being, to your highest state of homeostasis. And so the pain is an indicator that something is off. Something is off. If you are someone who has been a people pleaser all your life, the pain that you feel when you betray yourself is an indicator that something is out of balance. It is an indicator that something needs to shift in your being and in your behavior. So that's what I mean when I say pain is a messenger of imbalance. It's there to teach you. It's there to show you that something is off kilter, something is off balance, something is out of homeostasis, so that you take the necessary steps and the necessary action to correct that imbalance. On the other hand, pain as a messenger of transformation. What this pain is telling you is that the old way is no longer working. The old way is no longer serving you. It is time to move on into something new, or you're already in the process of moving into something new, and the pain that you're feeling is the manifestation of that transformation. So maybe you have left a job, or you got fired from a job. Maybe you are changing cities. Maybe you have experienced a breakup, whether it's a breakup with a friend, or a breakup with a lover, or even a breakup where you have to go no contact with a family member. The pain that you're feeling is the pain of the transformation from your old self. It's the pain of you leaving this old version of yourself that was existing within this relationship that is no longer conducive to the path that you are now walking or have been walking. So when things are falling out of your life, when you're experiencing a multitude of grief, when you're experiencing a loss, when you're experiencing the anger from things not showing up in the way in the way that you desire it to, or the way that you expect it to, that pain is telling you that there's a transformation happening. There is a shift happening. So if you can, instead of trying to fight against that pain and suppressing it, whether it's through eating foods that you know aren't good for you, or taking drugs, or drinking alcohol, or having, sexual intercourse that you know isn't serving you, what you can do is you can look at that pain as an indicator that I am in the process of transformation, and this sensation that I'm feeling in my body, this emotion that I'm feeling in my heart, or this tension, that I'm experiencing within my being of sort of being in two worlds simultaneously, is the indicator that I am in the transformation. I am in the process of going through alchemy. I am moving out of one thing, or from one thing into the next thing. And so that pain is serving you as a messenger for the transformation that you're going through. And so when you are when you have made the decision to embark on the heroine's journey of true transformation, of true healing yourself from the traumas that you've experienced, healing your bloodline from the traumas that you're carrying from your matriarchal lineage, you are going to experience pain. It is an inevitable part of the journey. It's an inevitable part of being a human. And so rather than distancing yourself or suppressing, the sensations that will rise or arise from what it is that you're going through in this process of healing and transformation, if you can sit with that pain and you can say, I welcome you into my life because you are telling me that something is off. You're telling me that I am not serving myself to my highest and best good. So thank you, pain, for being here and telling me what it is that I need to shift within myself. Thank you for showing me where I'm not in alignment with myself. Thank you for showing me where I am not in integrity with myself and my desires and my goals and my aspirations and my potential. Thank you for showing me within my body where I can offer more love and attention and nurturing. Thank you for removing me from a circumstance that was toxic for me or that was hindering me from being in my highest self and my highest purpose. Having the courage to really sit with your pain, look it in the face, and integrate that back into yourself. Accept that as a part of your being. Accept that as a part of who you are is going to completely transform and change your relationship with yourself and thus your journey of healing. And what it will do is it will open you up to a multitude of releases where you get to move all of this energy that you've been holding on to, all of these limiting beliefs that you've been holding on to, all of these agonizing emotions and ideas about yourself that simply don't serve you. They never have, but you, up until that point, had been ignoring those pain signals, those pain messages that were telling you that these things were not meant for you and that they didn't belong to you. So when you change your relationship with pain and you recognize that it is an integral part of who you are and it's something that you're meant to experience so that you can be in the contrast, thus giving you access to deeper pleasure, deeper joy, deeper happiness, deeper healing, deeper success, deeper abundance, then you will look at your pain as a gift. You will look at your pain as a friend. You will look at your pain as an ally because you're no longer going to be ignoring an important part of yourself. And this will create a deeper integration and a deeper sense of who you are because so much of your depression, so much of your anxiety, so much of your dissatisfaction with your life comes from the fact that you are not fully accepting of yourself as a whole being. And a whole being is someone that experiences pain and has experienced pain and is going to continue to experience pain as the part of the human process. We are cyclical beings. We go through periods of birth and death, and death and birth are both very painful processes that are integral to the experience of being a divine being within the flesh of our body. And one of the other important elements of this topic in terms of really dealing with your pain and acknowledging your pain. And again, when I talk about pain, I'm talking about all of the emotions that we typically classify as negative or low frequency or low vibrational. They're all valid emotions that are part of the human experience. So your anger, your resentment, jealousy, your sadness, grief, your anxiety, all of these things, they're temporary. They're temporary. Nothing lasts forever. Everything has its season. Everything has its birth and its death. And so when you are in the throes of that pain, when you are in the throes of the agony that comes from that pain, whether it's the imbalance within your body or the transformation that's occurring within the perception of your reality, it is a temporary experience that you're having. And so the best thing that you can do is to accept that this is where I am in this moment and I get to feel this way. And I am honored to feel this way because feeling the totality of my emotions means that I am a whole being, not this disjointed shell of a person that I've been walking through life as up until this point in time. I am a whole being that gets to experience the full totality of emotions because that is why, as divine spiritual beings, we've come into this flesh. because we want to feel the entire spectrum of what it means to be a human. We want to feel the entire spectrum of the human experience and existence. And so by rejecting pain, we are rejecting aspects of ourselves. And there can be no congruence, there can be no happiness, there can be no balance when you're in a constant state of rejecting an integral part of who you are. And it also closes you off from the contrast of those negative, painful emotions, such as pleasure and joy and lightness and humor, because they're all interrelated. They're all directly correlated with one another. They exist on a spectrum. Pain and pleasure are the exact same thing. It's just different degrees of a sensation. And so the more you can lean into your pain, the more you can allow yourself to feel the depth of what it means to be a human going through transformation, or recognizing the imbalance within and taking responsibility for the imbalance within and taking the inspired action to correct that imbalance. On the very opposite end of that, you are giving yourself the opportunity to experience the depth of what it means to be in flow, to be in ease, to be in pleasure, to be in joy, to be in ecstasy and euphoria and all of the other emotions that are also an integral part of the human experience. But you cannot have one without the other. How can you know what supreme pleasure is without knowing supreme sadness? How can you know what intense happiness is without feeling the contrast of intense anger? All of these things serve to broaden our perspective of the world, our perspective of ourselves, our empathy for ourselves, and thus our empathy for others. And so by embracing all of these emotions, understanding that they are temporary and that they're all serving a purpose in your journey of transformation and ascension as a divine being, not only is your life going to be easier, it's going to be more interesting, you're going to have a lot more fun with it, and you're going to release the resistance that's causing you to manifest these experiences and these physical manifestations of dis-ease that prevent you from being in the fullness of your expression and living out your highest purpose and potential. So what I invite you to do is to stop looking at your pain as a hindrance to your life or something to be avoided, something to be suppressed, something to be hidden, and start looking at your pain as a portal into power. Start looking at your pain as the direct avenue to your power, because it is through that pain that you get to learn where to make those necessary corrections, and you get to experience the beautiful agony of transformation. I want you to think about childbirth. And whether you've had a child or not, we all have on some level of understanding of what childbirth requires of a woman when she is giving life to a soul, when she is passing a being through the portal of her body and bringing this being into the physical. It is not only a transformative experience, but it is extremely painful for a lot of women. There are women who have mastered or have experienced the orgasmic birth, but the reason why those women have experienced orgasmic birth is because they have fully surrendered to the pain, and they are accepting the pain as a part of the process, and they're experiencing the pain as a gift and as an ally and as a very necessary, potent, and divine part of this creative process. But even for the women who haven't experienced the orgasmic birth and they had a really agonizing pain that they had to really breathe and pull themselves through to get to the other side, they all say the same thing, that they would do it 1,000 times over just to be able to hold that precious baby, that gift in their arms. And that is the power of pain, is that it is designed to expand you and to break you open and to push you beyond what you think is possible for yourself so that you can come out on the other side recognizing how fucking powerful you are. So stop suppressing your pain, stop fearing your pain, stop hiding from your pain, stop running from your pain, and stop looking at your pain as a weakness and start looking at it as a portal to your power and something that is going to give you access to everything that you desire. So I really want you to feel into the words that I've shared with you in this transmission and ask yourself, What are the ways in which I've been hiding from my pain? What are the ways in which I've been suppressing my pain? What are the ways in which I've been hindering my process of healing and transformation because I've been unwilling to feel the pain that lives within my being, that all it wants is to just be felt. It wants to be acknowledged the same way that you want to be felt, the same way you want to be acknowledged, the same way you want to be seen, the same way you want to be heard. This part of yourself desires that as well. This is you. And so I invite you to start considering diving into some deeper somatic practices that are going to give you the ability to really sit with and commune with this part of yourself, with your pain, with the agony that you've been holding off on feeling and re-experiencing because you're afraid that it's going to kill you. It's not going to kill you. It's going to liberate you. It is going to free you beyond your wildest dreams. And will it be challenging while you're going through the process? Absolutely. Absolutely, it will be challenging while you go through the process. But I'm not here to talk to the women who want to stay on the surface level, who want to stay stagnant in the place that they've been in for years and years and years. I'm here talking to the goddesses who are ready to fully step into their power, who are ready to stand up and say, I can move through anything. I am designed to move through anything. I am designed as the embodiment of the divine feminine to feel the totality of all expression that is available to me. These are the women that I'm speaking to who are tired of being afraid and are ready to step into that power in a real way. I want to tell you a story about one of the most incredible, one of the most powerful healing experiences that I've ever had. In March of 2020, I went on a healing retreat to Bali. When I went to Bali on this healing retreat, we got to meet with a lot of really, I'm talking some of the most incredible healers in the world. I mean, Bali is this is a country that is, when you go to Bali, you get to see a glimpse of just how old this world really is. Like, people talk about Europe as the old world. Europe is not the old world. That is still very much new world. I'm talking thousands and thousands and thousands of years of spiritual power and access that is felt and experienced on these lands and with these beautiful people who hold these really sacred powers of healing and transformation within them. The energy healing modality that I practice is called Shiva Murti or Siwa Murti, and it is a Balinese modality. And when I was in Bali, I actually was able to get initiated by the priest that channeled this modality. And so the reason why I'm bringing this up is because when I was there, one of the women that I got to experience a healing with, I wish I could show you the video. I have it recorded. I can't show you the video because when you're experiencing the healing, you take off your top. So I'm topless in my video. So I can't share it on YouTube, unfortunately. Well, maybe I could share it if I edit it and blur it. I'll see what I can do. But when I was experiencing this healing with her, I mean, this woman was barely grazing my skin, just like barely touching my skin. But when she would touch my skin, it was like the pain that I felt from her touch, it was like searing white hot pain. It was some of the most intense sensations that physical sensations that I'd ever felt in my life. And I kept like jerking because it hurt so bad every single time she touched me. And when she was touching me, what she was doing was she was basically opening up my meridians and she was accessing trauma within my system. And I can't say whether or not it was trauma that was my trauma or if it was ancestral. It was definitely a combination of all of those things, but I couldn't tell exactly what each individual one was. I didn't have any conscious awareness of what it was. All I knew was that it hurt like a you know what. It hurt. And I kept flinching and like I kept like shaking, and I just kept wanting to pull away because it hurt so bad. And my teacher told me, she said, the more pain you can take, the more she can heal you. The more pain you can take, the more she will heal you. And I did not travel all the way from Los Angeles to Indonesia to get a surface level healing experience. I went there because I had been living in pain for so long. I was so angry. I had experienced depression and suicidal thoughts for so many years that up until the point that I started my healing journey, I thought that that was the standard. I thought that that was the norm. And when I finally had had enough of feeling the way that I felt, I was ready to completely surrender to any healing process that I felt called to and that felt integral to my journey. And so when my teacher said that, the more pain you can take, the more she can heal you, I said, say less. I mean, I didn't really say less, but in my mind, I was like, okay, got it. And so I just started doing really deep breaths. And thankfully, I'd already started cultivating a bit of a meditation practice. And so I knew how to kind of ground and center myself. I had done some breathwork journeys. And so I knew how to connect with my breath. And so I just closed my eyes and I just started breathing deeply and I just started accepting the pain. I started saying yes to the pain. I started saying thank you to the pain. And this video is so beautiful. And every time I watch it, I get tears in my eyes of watching myself go from being still like in resistance and kind of like jerking from the pain and not liking it and seeing it as something that was like hindering me and hurting me, and going from that place into the state of just surrendering to it and trusting the pain, trusting that what I was receiving was exactly what I needed. And what happened was once I surrendered and I softened to the pain, I started to just break open. All of these emotions started coming to the surface. And I remember saying, and you can hear it in the video, I just said, I just feel like I want to cry. And then all of my other fellow students that were with me and my teacher and the translator for the healer, they all were just like, let it out, let it out, let it out. This is the place. And immediately I just started sobbing. I just started sobbing and sobbing and sobbing. And she's still working on me at this point. She was behind me and she was just like working on my back. And I could feel her pulling weight off of my heart. I could feel her pulling weight out of my lungs. I could feel her pulling weight that I knew I had carried for lifetime after lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. And those tears that I was releasing were generations, millennia of trauma, millennia of anger, millennia of heartbreak, millennia of rape, millennia of oppression, millennia of feeling limited and suppressed and oppressed. And I was releasing it and letting it all go. And I was never the same after that experience. But that year, 2020, just completely changed my life. That was the year that I stopped drinking alcohol. I went vegan. I gave up caffeine. I had already been practicing celibacy, but I journeyed deeper into my celibacy. And my willingness to surrender to the pain, to open myself up to the transformation and the healing that pain was offering me, gave me things beyond my wildest dreams things that I never could have imagined. Awareness, connection to my own power, my own divine gifts, my own intuition, magnetism, freedom, ease, lightness, just feeling unbothered, not as triggered by other people's perceptions of me or triggered by other people's, responses to me or simply their way of being, just sort of breathing and just letting life be what it was instead of constantly pushing against it and fighting against it. It liberated me in the most profound ways. And so when I speak about this relationship to pain, I'm telling my own story. I'm telling you what I experienced for myself. I'm telling you what I lived. I'm telling you what I have literal video evidence for. And I think I'm going to find a way to interweave like a couple of clips into this video because I think it will be so powerful for you all to get to see some of what it was that I got to experience in that transformative process of healing, of surrendering to the pain that was being inflicted on me. But that pain wasn't there to just hurt me. That pain wasn't there to punish me. That pain was to get me to sit with and welcome in all of the parts of myself that I had been hiding from or that I had no awareness of because it was so deeply repressed within my system. So please trust me when I tell you that what I'm saying to you is true, and what I'm saying to you and what I'm offering you and what I'm inviting you into experience for yourself is going to change your life beyond your wildest dreams. There's a reason why this isn't taught to people. There's a reason why we are pushed into suppressing these emotions. There's a reason why we're constantly being bombarded with toxic foods and poisonous alcohol and weed and drugs and all other forms of escapism that prevent us from really truly dealing with the parts of ourselves that we have feared for all of our lives, for many lifetimes. Because this matrix, this false matrix, I don't want to call it the matrix because matrix means mother. It's a false matrix, is built upon our disconnection from ourselves and us treating our pain like the enemy rather than a spiritual and divine teacher is what keeps us in that state of disconnection, which is what allows us to be controlled. It's what allows us to be in a state where we're not able to call in our dreams and our desires, where we're not able to experience the life that we dream of, or we feel like this dream is completely unattainable for us. There's so much more available to you. There's so much more at your fingertips that you can have if you would be willing to simply accept the painful parts of yourself that you've been hiding and running from and suppressing and hating. So I want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to listen to this message, to listen to this transmission that I have for you, because this is the really deep work. I don't do surface level bullshit. When I talk about the divine feminine, when I talk about healing, I'm not talking about putting on pretty dresses and makeup and dancing around, although all of that stuff is wonderful. It's all wonderful and it's enjoyable. But what I'm talking about is the deep work, the path that very, very, very few people are brave enough to walk. Very few people are brave enough to walk this path because it requires you to face yourself in a way that we are simply as a society aren't prepared for. This is what I teach women to do. I teach women how to embrace this part of themselves. I give them the tools to accept and embrace pain as a part of who they are and transmute that into power for themselves. I teach women how to change their relationship with these painful parts of themselves and see it as a gift for them stepping into the authenticity of who they were designed to be. Thank you for being here. Thank you for hearing what it is that I have to say, and share with me in the comments down below what this opened up for you, what this revealed for you, what is going to shift for you in your relationship with yourself and your pain. What are the steps that you plan to take in order to deepen your relationship and stop hiding from this part of yourself that needs your love and your acknowledgement and your acceptance so badly? Share with me what that means to you. And I will leave links down below as well for anyone that is open to going on this journey with me. If you want me to introduce you to this part of yourself, if you want me to teach you how to transmute your pain into power, if you want me to teach you the tools to navigate yourself in the totality of who you are, then those links will be available down for you in the description box below. I love you all so much. I'm so grateful for you being here. My passion is to serve you on your healing journey and to tell you the truth of who you are, the truth of this world as it sits today, and how it is designed to hold you back from being in your fullest expression, and teaching you how to circumvent these barriers that have been placed, these artificial barriers that have been placed, so that you can step on the path that is actually meant for you and that is designed for you. I love you. I thank you, and I will see you on the next video.